I created some real nice floral prints by collecting the last of the fall flowers from my garden, printing them with a jelly plate and working them out with acrylic paint. I'll show you that process today. Hello print fans! Here you see me cleaning the gel plate with vegetable oil. Be sure to wipe it with a regular tissue afterwards or with a baby wipe so that you don't have any oily residue on the plate. My neighbor gave me a dahlia. Look at that beauty. But now he always adds, for you to print it. So one of today's prints is going to him. In my garden there still are quite a lot of flowers blossoming, a fact that I notice more every fall since I used the gel plate. So I collected some asters. This here, I looked it up, is a honeysuckle. Mallow? Where's the mallow? No, that's a fuchsia. This is the mallow. And more fuchsia flowers. This is a kind of marguerite, I think. And geraniums. I bought some Chinese acrylic paint from a Chinese website. You probably know which I mean. And these are supposed to have a nice metallic effect. So I want to test them today and see if they are pigmented fine enough to give details of the flowers. And I wanted to show you, this is in German, it's called a skeleton plant. Very obvious why the name is that. And they almost look artificial, but they're real. So I'm going to test them too. And I bought some small bamboo trays or bamboo boards from the dollar store. And I think they can serve nicely as a frame. And this glass I'm just using to get an idea how the size of the prints, how big they should be, because I'm going to make a frame for printing. For that frame I use some paper that is just a little thicker and a little bit coated, meaning shiny. And I'm just taking the size of the glass, but then I'm making it a little bit smaller because otherwise it would probably go off the gel plate. And I'm rounding the edges here so that would look nicer and fit into the bamboo tray. And to make the edges round in a similar way, I'm using a stencil here. Just use one side of the round shape. And then I cut that out. Just be careful at the edges. And then we have the frame. And yes, that would fit in just fine. But it's going to be a little bit larger because I'm going to leave some white paper on the rim of the print. You'll see that in a minute. And this is really funny. I bought these things on eBay. These writings used to sit on radios, I think, or other electronical machines like in the 70s, 80s. And some, I think, even before that. And most of them, like Juncker and Ruh, are German. This one I don't know at all, and it actually looks like it's from the 30s or so. Mediator, yeah, that must be 50s. And Telefunken, which was a company that my father worked for. So, oh, this is really, really great. Stereo. This one I can't print because it's sealed. And don't ask me why I have to combine electronical brands of a German kind with the flowers of my garden. I can't tell you, it's just me. So I'm starting with the black. That's a little bit metallic, and I can see there is a little bit of metallic shine to it. I rolled it out quite thinly and press the dahlia in it. And to press down the leaves, the petals on the sides, I'm using some wax paper because it also gives me quite a nice structure with the rest of the paint. And at the same time, I can press down the petals. Yep, that already looks very interesting. So I waited a little bit for the black paint to dry. I think it takes a little longer than other regular acrylics to dry. And I want to let it dry because I want to pick up with the orange and the copper tone. Both are metallic. And I can see when I'm rolling them out that they are quite transparent, which is usually good. So I'm putting on the frame and taking the print with the prepared smaller watercolor paper. And off it goes. I like it a lot. Very interesting structures from the wax paper. The flower, of course, I have to work out a little. I like it, and it has this metallic shimmer. But I have to say, it's a little bit, the black is a little bit too light. Anyway, I'm trying it again. So same, rolling it out thinly. Now I'm pressing the Telefunken brand in it. I'm very curious how that will be. The skeleton leaves and the dahlia again. And this time I'm taking off excess paint with the deli paper. I love the deli paper. The very good thing about it is that you can already see exactly where it picks up the paint. You can see through the paper. Taking everything off. I should have used not the upper side, but the downside of the skeleton leaves. It's always better because the veins are underneath the leaves are always printing better. I'll do that in the next print. So I'm taking off some other excess paint that I don't want there, and I'm using a masking tape for it. And this works really, really well. You can also use just regular paper, but I found that the masking tape is just very good for this. I'm careful not to take everything off because I don't want it to be too perfect. I still want some residue. And after 10 minutes or so drying time, I'm putting on the orange and the copper tone again. By the way, I'm only using one of those two copper tones because they're so similar that it doesn't really make any difference. Rolling it out, I have the feeling that this paint is very, very fine, nice. It's not sticky. It's quite transparent, and it's pigmented well, obviously. So I'm taking this print. And yes, it's nice. The Telefunken is really hard to read, so I'm going to have to add to this. But here you can see the shiny effect of the paint, the Chinese paint. It's really nice. So here you can see the two I printed first together. The one on the left is really too light, and the other one, the second one, was okay. But still, I want to try the Liquitex basic regular acrylic paint because I love it for printing. It's really, really, the Liquitex is a very good quality paint. So I want to combine this with Chinese metallic colors. Doing the same thing, pressing the dahlia down. And now I have a honeysuckle. I bet they print wonderfully. Geranium. and a skeleton leaf. And there's no room left. So now I'm coming in with the deli paper. By the way, the Germans ask me sometimes, what is the deli paper really? And I want to say it's just a Butterbrotpapier you can buy in the supermarket on a roll. This looks very promising. And I'm also taking something off with the masking tape. With this one, I think I mixed the orange and the copper too much, so that it's not a gradation of paint, which is sad, but the black is much better, I think, the Liquitex. It's a lot darker and it's very, very fine as well, because it's also highly pigmented. So using the Liquitex paint again, and this time I want to print even more blooms and petals and leaves, they're called. This is the fuchsia. I love the fuchsia with printing. And the honeysuckle again. By the way, I'm using the same actual plants again. Another fuchsia part. And little skeleton leaves. And the Telefunken brand. Maybe it's just the brand of my prints. Tina's Telefunken art. And when I take the flowers off, you can already see what's coming before I even pull the print. And getting rid of some areas that I don't want to be painted, getting rid of the Telefunken brand as well, in this case. Anyway, that's also why I put a white sheet under the jelly plate to see that better. And oh, I'm coming back in with the Telefunken brand again. Having painted it on top, sorry that was off camera, it leaves a nice impression, but to tell you now, I'm gonna get rid of that again later when I work it out. And to get rid of that blank area there, I'm using the fuchsia that is already covered with the black paint and pressing it on, so this is positive printing. For the pickup of this one, I'm employing the golden fluid acrylics, not to mix with the golden slow drying open acrylics. It's not the same. These are just fluid, but they also stay wet a little longer. So I'm mixing that acrylic paint a little bit with a copper tone of the Chinese paint. That print is gorgeous, I think. And I already know what I want to do with it. But first I'm working this one out. This was the first print. And I'm using my beloved Faber-Castell pencils to work out the shadows. And later I'm coming in with the Micron fine liner as well. And after that, there's a little acrylic paint coming in. I have to speed this all up a little for the sake of the length of this video. As you probably know, I use those fine liners, the micron pens, very often, but there are, as opposed to the pencils, a little bit shiny, so I only use them when the little shine of the black makes sense. In this case, as I printed with a metallic color, I think the fine liner is very good for that. And you can see there's all this interesting things in the background. I don't want to work them out because that would be, at some point, that would be working out too much. And also the dahlia is the star of the show. And I'm strengthening the shadows down there below. So that makes gives a little bit of a 3D impression, some depth in there. And for the frame of the picture, I'm making a frame, a small black frame here, but only below and to the right. As you know, in my paintings, the light always comes from above left. And that Chinese metallic paint, it didn't really work out so well for the contrast printing, but now I want to employ it for a stripe I'm making in the background that I want to be purely black. And yeah, I'm hoping for that metallic sheen that I see in the paint. The paint is very nicely, it spreads out nicely, and it works fine over the metallic stuff. The thing is also in the photos and later, you can't really see how black it is because it always mirrors the light coming in, and I couldn't really turn it in a way that you see it better. It's really pitch dark black. And strengthening just some shadows inside the dahlia and making these little round thingies that are maybe water droplets or something like that. And I'm sorry, but it looks like a, how do you say, a funeral card? A grieving card? That's typical of me, but I like it anyway. And here you can see me in the next one, penciling over the metallic paint, which works well. I'm actually a little surprised that this works so well. Yeah, I want to give the flowers just a little bit of tone, and the petals, the leaves, a little bit of green, but very subtly. Oh, look at that leaf, how it shows. That's the Liquitex quality, really. The honeysuckles didn't print as I expected it to. I think these little seed stems, they don't really show. So I'm just drawing them in. It's a fake. So this one is going to be from my neighbor who gave me the dahlia, and it's going to fit in just fine with a bamboo frame. And I'm ripping off on the sides, ripping off the paper so that I have a little white frame outside the print. And in the corners, to make it round, I just use a little bit of water and wet it, and then with your fingertips, or if you have fingernails, that's perfect. You can just rip it off and make it round. It's a little fiddly, but it's I think it looks great. But my neighbor, I think he likes it a little more colorful even. So I'm also making a stripe with acrylic paint. And this time it's going to be horizontal. And I'm using the lavender by Lukas, that's a German brand. Oh no, actually I'm not using the lavender. Sorry, I'm using the pink by Schminky, I think it is. And I have to paint another layer, a second layer, as this paint is a little bit too transparent. And this is it. I like it. I think the copper tone works very nicely with the pink tones and red tones. And I'm so happy with my stripes that I want to do this with the blue and copper one too, but this time in white. And to know where the white will be going, I have to finish the shapes of the petals and leaves. And as I'm not so convinced with the Telefunken brand anymore, I will be painting over it and get rid of it. I also have to add a second layer here, and I have to define the blossoms a little better. And just a little bit of my Caran d'Ache pencil white for some highlights. Not too intense though, that's why I'm only using a pencil. And I really like it. I think I like this one the best. The white stripe is really good. No wonder that Jack White called his band the White Stripes. This last one, this is the only one where I kept the brand Telefunken, and I'm going to do that, finish that for my father, make it readable better. Do you say readable? I don't know if that's even a word. I'm using the golden fluid acrylics here in some kind of blue. I have to look up which blue. It's a very nice color, very fluid, very transparent. And I advise you, like you see here, don't use the masking tape on a finished painting. It could be that the paint wasn't dry enough yet, I'm not sure. Here I'm heating up the masking tape to not damage so much, and it's a disaster. And I don't know why I did this again, because I've done it in another video before, and there are much better masking tapes. This one is probably also very old. And from my experience with watercolor, I always use the 3M, that's a medical tape. That's a lot better than the masking tape. You have to struggle a bit more to have it even, but it goes off so easily and well, and stops the watercolor, which is totally fluid, from running under it. You know, those misprints, the happy accident with the masking tape, I'm just trying to integrate it into the painting, and it actually looks interesting. So another happy accident. Thank you, Bob. And I'm a little bit unhappy with the blue stripe and the thickness of the black stripes up there, so I'm adding another golden stripe, two golden stripes actually. You can't see the one down there, I'm sorry, it's a little bit off camera. And also adding a little bit of gold to the Telefunken brand, which was its original color. So I have a nice one for my dad now. See the shimmer? Nice. So these four are ready now. I hope I didn't bore you to death with this long video. But, you know, you're thinking, oh, I'm just going to print like 4 little cards, and then it's a long, long video and a lot of work to edit. Yeah, but I'm happy with these. Tell me what you think. I hope you learned something from this too long video. And see you next week. Bye.